I didn't notice that yet. Okay. So brief introduction about this topic. We haven't met for a long, quite a long time, I believe, and it's a good opportunity just to refresh our mind how goes its work and where it is right now. And I want to discuss with you this topic about the state, and we briefly touch a couple of topics. So yeah, recently we have got new version of Go 1.25. It was released in August. I just go briefly highlighted some changes. Again, huge disclaimer, any review of the new feature of the Go, it aligned to the author perspective. So I encourage you to read release blog at least and review changes from your own, because you may spot something different for yourself as well. Okay, so just go briefly about runtime, GC, compiler, linker, really briefly, some example of changes in standard libraries, about tooling improvement, and some highlights from recent conference, which already was published, almost all was published in YouTube. You may interrupt me, ask any questions, so it's should be a very light talk without deep in dive in the details or some technical stuff. That's why it's more like conversation and discussion rather than technical investigation and deep in dive in some details and discovering something interesting. But it's also could be possible. Small reminder, Go run in these release cycles quite a while. I believe since version 1.7 in the beginning, to align to this half-year cycle, and will be finalized in this way. So we have 4 months of active development and then 2-3 months of stabilization phase, freeze, testing, improvement, etc. And yeah, right now we on the phase of preparing and working on next version 1.26. Why it's important? Because Go maintains this security guarantee to maintain only the 2 recent versions. So right now, everyone who worked with version 1.23 and below are at security risk, because those versions wouldn't get security patches anymore. Almost 2 months already, or three months. So pay attention to that as well. What we use, so moving forward with standard release cycle, maintain backward compatibility related to Go 1 promise. And in this release, most focus was done to performance, observability testing, and tooling. And yeah, I encourage you all to go to official release notes to review all of them. And maybe I will provide some links at the end where you can also grab some information from different perspective. So if no questions, I move to the topic. So on the high level, what was changed? We have got new container-aware GoMax procs. It's a huge topic. I also suggest you some reference where you can find some answers about that. Experimental new GC, like green tea GC, was released in this version. New trace flight recorder API was introduced. Panic output tweaks and Linux virtual memory allocation names was added. We also switched to Dwarf 5 debug and 4, which also allow us to reduce some size of the binary. Now the Think test package, I assume more stable. New experimental JSON version 2 encoded was introduced, and some new analyzers was added to Go wet, and new instruction ignore was added to Go mod at the high level. Okay, so what about GoMax procs? I should put a link here to one of the topic which was presented, I believe, in GopherCon UK this year by Bill Kennedy. So he deep dive in more details and show an example. Overall, when we run our binary inside the Kubernetes cluster or inside the Docker, it could be limited by some software limits. Yeah, so we can limit CPU, memory, etc. for our containers. And Go runtime behaved differently before that because it's used to ground it on the host machine hardware overall. Yeah, so this Go max procs value will define how many CPUs actually cores our hardware host machine has. And it's not always related to our container, and that also may lead to some performance issue. Yeah, so this optimization for some cases should lead to more performance or optimal computation and more resource efficient usage. Any questions? No?
So the question here, if we like how it's work with Kubernetes native limitation for containers. For example, we limit the container to 200 milli CPUs, and inside Go we limit for 300 milli CPU. Which how it's work?
Yeah, in Go we actually not limit by this milliseconds. Yeah, so again, unfortunately, we should deep dive a little bit to answer this question. So in Kubernetes, it's split like CPU by milliseconds. Yeah, so 100 milliseconds, we have these chunks. And when we limit something by like 20 to 250 like milliseconds, MCPUs, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, sorry. It means that we will use only quarter of this time span of the CPU usage. And Go max procs, it's actually about the number of cores which we can use. Yeah, so it's not correlated like correctly with Kubernetes limits by itself. But what it's show us how much computation power we can use for our work, for our container works. Okay, so how we calculate this? So when we use more than this span, it means that we can use more CPU cores, yeah, for our programs. So anything less than one span, it means we can use only one core. And everything bigger than one span, we can use more than one core. And right now, with new version of Go, it will be dynamically define these limits and use appropriate number of cores. Does that answer your question, or it's more tricky?
Partially, but okay, for now it's okay.
Yeah, I encourage you to review again this topic by Bill Kennedy. He shows this with example with runtime demo, like lifetime demo during the conference, and he explains this under the hood how it works with some diagrams, etc. Because it's again only this single topic like require like half an hour to at least to understand how it works under the hood and how it impacts the performance. Yeah, overall, believe me, we can compare. For example, when we build our solution to work concurrently, and we assume that we will have at least like 5 or 6 cores, and we assume that we can run like several processes like computation, interact with network, etc. But in reality, we run in some micro nodes in our AWS accounts, and we have only like 1 CPU or 2 CPU maximum, and that's entirely reshape how scheduler will work and how it will compact this task in the single thread, for example. And when we run our application with Go max procs, by the way, the minimal value for it is 2, not 1. It was interesting for me as well, because yeah, we should have like executable part and some like let's say runtime resources as well. Okay, and come back to this topic. When we define it, is minimal or is more real value, it's allow us schedule to optimize execution more properly, and that's lead to more like optimal execution and more like reliable one. So again, I will reference you to this topic. Links will be provided below. I already added. I will add these links here as well. Yeah, thank you, Maxim, for your question. Move forward. Green tea collector. So Go team is known that they're like dedicated team which working with garbage collection, and they all the time seek some opportunities how they can improve it. And you know that some time ago was added some telemetry to the Go tool itself. So when you build your binary, you could include it. I'm not sure whether it's turned on by default. I believe no. So your binary could contribute to overall Google system awareness about how binaries executable work and which problem we may face it on our production system as well. So based on that, they decided to update how GC works. And again, I'm trying not to deep dive on the details under the hood. Overall, GC try to validate memory allocated to each variable in the runtime. Yeah, and it's jump between of them and validate whether they has reference to that memory or not. That was maybe confused. Okay. And what was changed, instead of randomly going by the reference to validate this memory, they decided to scan memory in a bigger chunks and validate them at once rather than just going onto this graph of allocated memory and revalidated them like under the hood, like in background. And that should save us some performance as well, especially when you're working with small chunks of memory. For example, when you're allocating a lot smaller variables and work with them. So that's help this new GC to work more efficient with them in comparison to previous one. Again, this feature is in Go experiment mode, so to turn it on, you should use this variable. And mostly, I believe since quite a while, I couldn't recall from which version. I believe since Go mode, I recall this when they introduced some feature, so it was 1.11, when you should define some variable and then use this feature before it's become standard. And actually that's work, that's help to experiment with things rather than introduce some new feature without knowing how they affect the some production overall. So it's adding it in safe way, I believe. Next one, trace flight records. It's helping situation when your application may crash occasionally and you want to investigate deeper what's going on before this crash. So you can define the amount of time of what you want to record. In this one, I believe it's like very tiny example of what would happen exactly. Usually when we panicking, we can use some graceful shutdown and define some points where we can save this records. Yeah, so it's possible to add to our production as well. And that's very helpful in terms of investigation what was happening. You can download this trace and investigate it locally. And yeah, it will be recorded automatically, and it's just overwrite itself for defining amount of time. So I believe it's a nice feature in terms of observability. Yeah, about panics and virtual memory allocation names. When we have panic in our code, then we use recover code it and then repanicking again, adding some information, etc. It's appear in our state trace like as nested panics. Yeah, it's very hard to figure out what was the initial one, how is they related. So right with this new version, all such repanic and will be grouped in one log instead of like multiple one. Virtual memory allocation, again, in Linux, we can label how we allocate memory, and that will help us when we investigate this heap, I believe. I'm not sure for now. I don't have like clear picture, so it's also like point of investigation. Don't ask me about this virtual memory allocation. How is this actually labeling help us to the backstage? So it will. It was added, was introduced, and right now we can use it on our production as well. Okay, some compilers changes. I was picking only one of them. So in new version was fixed one error. So I provide you code, for example, in case when OS open returns us an error, compiler since version 1.21 till 1.24, it won't panic in station if f is nil. What could happen in error case is because compiler checks the value, makes this request to the name only after error check. Yeah, so in previous time, like in previous version, due to the new introduced errors, compiler works with that. Yeah, and that can bring you like misguided how you write code. So right now you should be cautious about that and never trust the value before you validate the error, which could be returned in any function. So right now, if there will be like a nil, we will got the nil pointer panic. Okay, about Dwarf, I'm not sure whether you know what is that and how it's used. It's used when you try to debug your code. So this precompiled information that's help connect our debugger and actually code like runtime, which we are profiling, for example, remotely, and help us to make this break points where you can stop and in this case station close. So it's used under the hood. We can build without this information. That's again make our binary smaller, and yeah, but without possibility to debug it. Okay, some optimization in stack allocation for slices. Again, I don't want to deep dive on these details. Some additional tools was introduced which we are using, which are used by the compiler, I believe, to investigate this possibility. And you know, stack allocation, it's more faster than a heap allocation. So it really depends on the cases. And func align, it's new flag for tuning of function alignment, again during the compilation phase. No much details about that as well. Okay, let's come back to the standard library because we have a lot of changes there, and I even not put all of them in the slides again because list is huge and it depends on your preference. My let's say more preferable ones about sync test that's help us to make our test more deterministic, even with concurrency, even with time delay, etc., time sleep. So in this example, you see that we use like time sleep and T time sleep, I believe. Yeah. So we use sync test T. So we can use different synchronization models in our code base. It also works with, I believe, with group weight, etc., with concurrency. So all this time will be like this test will run without this time delay, like almost instantly, and only logic will be used. So you don't need anymore to use some hack to provide times or mock times in your code base. You can use just this package. Okay, I suppose here we should have some questions, but if no, I move forward. Okay, good. Next one is experimenting JSON version 2. So There was like about 5 years of discussion, like prototyping different suggestions how we can improve JSON package. You know that it has some disadvantages in terms of API, in terms of performance. So, for example, when you use Marshall, usually this it relies on byte slice, and it's appear from nowhere. So it always lead to some new allocation of the byte slice. In new version, it's more rely on new introduced package which called JSON text, which provide all primitives that will be used in this new functionality. And these primitives like encoder, decoder. Also, they will rely more on IO writer reader in case of the situation. So it's lead to more clean API and better performance in some cases. Again, I provide you just some link to this blog post, which highlighted the more details. And as example, just provide how we can customize our marshaller to like map Boolean values to just sign like with, I don't know how this marks named, like with OK marks and X marks, let's name it. And yeah, final, but not not the final one. Changes to the toolchain. Go ahead, obtain new detectors about weight group to validate them, and host port, which warns you when you IPv6 unsafe formatting has. For example, when you combine your IP address and your port with semicolons, just using FMT, sprintf, etc. So it will spot that and will highlight that you should use something else. In Go mode, we have this new directive ignore that allows us to ignore some directories which has, for example, no code, no related code, and it's help us to run tools more smoothly without scanning these directories. Also, some improvements in Go docked that it work locally. I'm not sure what was wrong with that before because I used GoDoc for quite a while locally as well. And yeah, my favorite one is Go version right now with -m. You can inspect your binary as well. And it provides like a bunch of information about your binary, which dependency it used, with which hash commit it was built, etc., etc. So, and all this Go experiment flags will be revealed there as well. So you can investigate this on a deep level, I believe. Okay, any questions so far? No much questions. Okay.
I just discovered that I have Go 1.24, so I can check how it's look like.
Just run some brew update or something like that. That will help. Yeah. Okay, so couple of links that I promise you. So actually, go release notes, go check yourself, because again, I highlighted only a couple of them and may discuss with you some of them as well, because there are plenty of changes inside testing packages as well. So right now you can add attributes to your tests to enrich your output of the test execution. There's some improvements in the OS Go root entity, so you can more secure define the boundaries, which files you should provide access when you serve or when you interact with local file system. What else? I couldn't recall. I just know that there are a bunch of them. Give me a minute. With weight, so sync package with weight group also add possibilities like error group weight, also wrap our function inside that's reduce your necessity to control this adding once all the time. So it's also simplify the API overall. Yeah, and one more funny CCRF protection was added to NetHTTP package as well. Yeah, So there are a bunch of them. Yeah, and I highlighted only like several, maybe, which was related to my practice overall for this time. Next one, release blog post about the new release, and a couple of I would say third-party observers of these changes, like by Bytesize and FreeCodeCamp. Okay, any questions so far? Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for presentation. I have a small question. It's related with new version of JSON package. It's introduced, I believe, new API, and it will be the problem with backend compatibility. Do you have any strategy or faced with real cases to migrate from oldest one to new version? I mean, for instance, I have a project which related to oldest package, and I want to take a look, is it really necessary for right now, and how it will impact the whole project at all. And it could be bugs and with implementation. What is a strategy, a general at high level, of how to migrate or how to play with this?
Thank you for your question. Very good question. Very good one, I believe. Yeah, so actually, how Go team presents it, right now they introduce only experimental version. Yeah, so you will have access to this package only if you turn on it during the compilation time. Yeah, so without this flag, you won't be able to access it. Second point, they plan to migrate all JSON package API to the new one. So they try to avoid this situation when they should support both implementation. Yeah, so new version compatible with old one. Yeah, right now it just bring you more functionality and allow you to just review again, fine tune your code base more properly, because previously it was very hard with standard package, and usually we just switch to some third-party packages instead. Yeah, so if there are no performance issue for you right now, it's not necessary to play with this new package. You just wait and when Go team done their work, so they run their test on their own and guarantees this backward compatible. Without backward compatibility, they won't merge JSON functionality. But overall, the idea is that the API of JSON package remains the same. They just will reuse the new version under the hood.
Great, thank you. So to summarize, I can assume to provide this new variable within my builds, switch the import, and hope that everything will work fine for experimental purpose, I mean. Got it, thank you.
I believe new version also support the old API as well. Yep.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, cool. Next part of my presentation will be related to some community insights. Yeah, because several huge conference happens this summer. I believe I just highlighted some of them. So GopherCon EU was in Berlin in June, and again, it's already released, I believe, almost months ago. Okay, so quite a while. I encourage you to go and review this presentation. Like couple of highlights from me, it's definitely review this Dave Cheney presentation. Again, some from my perspective, interesting topic you may be interested in, but just review the full list. It's not too much, I believe, up to 15 or something like that presentation available there. Yeah, and then we can discuss, definitely, if you would like. Next one, GopherCon UK also was published recently, happens after day of the release, and actually I was inspired to make this presentation by this talk by Daniel Marty, which was dedicated to what's coming new in Go 1.25, but actually it happened and it's already was released. So this was some awkward situation during this presentation on the beginning. Yeah, also in this in this conference, Bill Kennedy talking about this Go max pro limit and how it affects binaries which work in the containers. So if you want to gain more like clarity about that, just review this presentation. Also, so there's a good presentation about how to build your AI agent, as I recall it correctly, and build your MCP as well. Yeah, so MCP is layers that allow your agent interact with some services in your host or like publicly to also improve the output of their work. Some nice key points from the security standpoint. So in Go teams, there are like dedicated security team which working with all this stuff we call like security issue, and how they prioritize them, how they analyze them, what direction was chosen, etc. And yeah, last but not least, GopherCon, like main one, as they call it, yeah, because it happens in United States. And right now we have only agenda. We are waiting for release of these videos. So yeah, again, there are plenty of interesting topic, a lot of presentation from the Go team, such person like Alan Donovan, who co-author of the book. I forgot this name, the Go language or something like that, like the analogy with C. Okay, never mind. So I believe there also be a lot of insights, and encourage you to review these topics when they will be available as well. Yeah, I believe that's all from my side. Thank you for your attention. Any question, topics to discuss? Overall, my intent was to highlight some changes in the language which happened recently, and also remind you that there are some conference happens, and it's nice to review them, and they very like maybe very helpful for your like daily routine as well.
Thank you.